Hello, my name is Ahide Arome Adum. Everybody calls me Ahide. There are some people that don't know me, see my name spelt Ahide. They call me Ahide. That is not how my name is pronounced. It's very simple. Ahide.
So let's talk about you and voiceovers. How did it all start?
So I met someone who asked me to come over and read a script. And this script was for a radio station in the city of Jos, where I was born, where I grew up. And he asked me to read this script like the people on BBC and CNN. And I think that was the closest example he could give me of what a voiceover was. So I read the script as best as I could, and it worked. And I can't remember exactly how much. I think when I think back, this is 1990. This is about March 1990. And I think he counted about 140 or 150 naira and gave to me. I was surprised. I was young. I was in my late teens. And, I asked him, what's this for? He said, it's for what you did. And I was like, wow, okay. I just talked. That's all I did. And that was my first experience of doing a voiceover.
Great. So why did you choose to stay in the career or in the field as a voiceover talent? Why did you choose that?
I can't really say that I chose it. I can't really say that I chose it. See, after that first experience, it just became, people started asking, whose voice is that? Who did that? And so after a couple of months, jobs started rolling in, and they would just ask, I want that voice that did the advert for the radio station. I want that voice that did the advert. And when I was younger, I was really skinny, like really skinny, and I didn't look anything like my voice. And so they would always get a thrill of just meeting this skinny kid, and he opens his mouth and hears this voice, and, it was always a thrill. And so I didn't really choose it. And all through, maybe until about 10 years ago, when I moved out of Jos, voiceover was something that I did almost by default. It just happened to be something that I was good at, and there was a demand for it. So it really wasn't a choice. I just fell back into it. My first few years, I traveled with a band. I was a musician, I sang the baritone, sang backups, played instruments. But all through that time, every time we got back to town, one or two people would call up and say, look, I need you to do a voiceover for this or for that. So, and because it paid money, hey.
What has been your greatest inspiration as a voiceover talent so far, all these years? What has been your greatest inspiration?
I would have to say the money. I would have to say the money. If it was a who, I would have to say James Earl Jones. And that's because I had already fallen in love with his voice long before I ever thought I would use my voice in this capacity. He is probably the one person that, inspired me the most. It's kind of interesting. When I was younger, the voice was there, a big voice, and people talked about it. And I loved James Earl Jones. I loved him a great deal. And I loved him because of his voice, but I never really compared my voice to his until much later. I got into voiceovers, and really the quality of our voices are not quite the same. They don't really sound alike, but it was after I got into voiceovers that I was like, oh, okay, we have something in common here. So he would probably be the one that inspired me the most.
Great. Now, this is a very important question, and I think you should listen, okay? Now, have you ever used your voice to catch babes?
This is an interesting question. And but what's interesting about it is the fact that as much as I know that my voice is deep, I'm not always conscious of the fact that my voice is deep, especially if I'm in company that is familiar. I'm not always conscious. So when we have a chat, like we're chatting now, I don't really realize that my voice is deep. I'm just having a chat. And to me, my voice sounds no different from yours or anybody else that is contributing to the chat. So if I, on occasion, I've not, maybe not to, or maybe yes, maybe the answer is yes. And maybe I have used it a couple of times to impress, especially a girl that I'm not very familiar with, and I like, and I want to impress, I was very shy when I was young. So even if I liked a girl, I wouldn't walk up to her and talk to her. I'd probably just make friends with her friend, male or female, and then, find the right opportunity to it could be a one-liner, contribute to the discussion. I know the effect the voice has. And the moment my voice, she'll turn around, and that's it. That's good enough for me.
Okay, finally, or before finally, what's usually your intention when you're to record a project for a brand?
Brands, see, for a brand to be recognized as a brand and for us to appreciate a brand as a brand, they must have put in the necessary homework, right? They have a structure. They've done the things that are necessary to bring them to that place where we recognize them as a brand. So my first thing is, when I'm dealing with a prominent brand, I'm trying to, first of all, I have to respect the brand. I have to respect the work that has gone into bringing the brand to where it is. And then in terms of just being a professional and doing my job, I need to translate those qualities of that brand. Yeah. That professionalism, that sense of high standards, that sense of excellence that this brand represents needs to be communicated through my voice to sell their product or their service, so basically that would always be my intention. And it's not only for big brands, for anybody that feels that they've come to the point where they need to advertise, I think it's a big step. Yeah, bigger for some than others, but I think it's a big step to want the whole world to know your product and your service. And I think it's important that be communicated as it should.
So final words before you leave. What final words would you want to put out there?
That the sky is big enough to contain all of us. And just because everybody is scrambling down here doesn't mean that some people should not shoot for the sky and find a place to fly and be free. See, some people cannot sound like a lion, they can't do that. I probably can't sound like a mouse. But the truth is that you can always sound and be the best that you can be. And that is good enough. I should know.